Is she like American?
Oh, she's teaching there.
She's
So what's
American.
your-
Okay, everybody, we,
My name's Jackie.
our subject today is Israel. We're going to learn about the geography of Israel, and we're going to look at pictures of people who live in Israel and the mountains and rivers and ocean and ancient ruins and maps. And then we have some lessons that we'll do. And let's get started. So we all sort of looked at the maps a little bit, but
Let's look at the maps in particular.
so this is a map of the whole world, which is very big. And the Upper Peninsula of Michigan.
Wait, she can find it.
Yep.
Can you find Israel?
Israel is right there. You could fit Israel and the Upper Peninsula 2 times. It's such a small country. But if you've looked at some of these pictures, you can see that for such a small place, it's got lots and lots of different kinds of scenery. It's got deserts. It's got the Dead Sea, which is so low, it's below the level of the ocean. And it's very hot. And it's full of salt. And then there are places like the mountains, where sometimes people can even go skiing. You found us?
Well, we have to show, what are their names again?
Jillian and Olive.
Yeah, I think we have to show them specifically.
I think we did already.
We did?
Yeah, we looked at it over here.
Okay. So these are close-ups.
Yeah, we have a bunch of other maps. This one, this is a picture taken from a satellite. The yellow lines on here, which are hard to see from a distance, but those were drawn on afterwards. Those are the borders of Israel. This is the West Bank. This is the Gaza Strip. But you can see on here deserts and mountains and areas where there's agriculture, farming. No people, no.
It's too far up.
And this is Lake Kinneret. Kinneret. And the Dead Sea. And there's a river that runs between these two. Anybody know what that river is called?
I read it in one of my stories, but I can't remember.
It's a very famous river, and I don't think any of our
Here's another good map. Jordan River.
There, this map names the river. It's the Jordan River. And when we were in Israel, we went everywhere, but we went to the Jordan River, and you can buy these little empty plastic bottles and dip it in the river and have your own Jordan River water. So I haven't opened this in, what, 16, 17 years? Maybe you can.
Maybe a genie will come out.
That's from the Jordan River.
Or-
It's okay. I'm not sure I'd want to drink it now.
My fingers can do the banana splits.
Did everybody get a chance to look through this book? There's there's a lot of interesting things in here. That is Muslims praying at the Dome of the Rock.
Mhm.
Yeah, well, they're all down on their knees and bowing down.
You know how we stand up and sit down at certain times during services, Kayla?
Uh-huh.
When Muslims pray, they stand up and they sit down and they kneel and they bow at certain times. And when they bow, they pray on these prayer mats. And when they bow, they kneel down on the mats. When they pray, they have a lot of very intricate choreography when they pray. And when they do it, they all are moving at the very same time. It's very cool to watch.
Yeah. So let's see. Unfortunately, this book doesn't really have
Fee.
a good index or way of finding your way through. But here is a picture. This is in Jerusalem, and that last one we looked at was in Jerusalem also. Here is this, I think this is the mosque we were looking at. Okay. And this is the Wailing Wall, the Kotel.
A kotel. It's an outer wall where the temple was. The temple stood where these mosques stand. They stood at the top. But
So this is all that's left of the second temple that was in Jerusalem.
oh yeah, the first temple.
So that wall, guess how old that wall is, Kayla?
I don't know.
About 2,000 years old.
I was about to say 200, but wow.
No,
Yeah.
2,000, right?
And there used to be a big, huge Jewish temple there.
Right on top. But yeah, and the original temple was on top too. It was smaller. And you should have been some idols.
Here's some pictures of desert.
So one of the cool things is in the UP, you can see a lot of forests and a lot of mountains, and you've got the lake, but that's about it. But even though Israel is half the size, you can go camping and hiking and backpacking in 3 distinct types of terrain. You could go in the desert, and you could go in straight lines in the desert for weeks, and you could go in the middle of the country where it's this sort of grassy hills, kind of like San Diego. And then if you can go into the north, and there's like actual very green mountains. And this is still open, the vinyls. Where are the vinyls pictures?
Well, yeah. Let me see.
And they've got like these great waterfalls and all these trees and valleys, and you sort of walk over this ridge and then down the ridge and then through this guy's apple farm, and it's a great place to go backpacking.
Here's the bodies.
What's a picture of a cactus?
No, it's a different kind of desert than that kind of desert. And it has slightly different kind of trees.
These are pictures of the banyas. There's water, there's waterfalls there, water. It's a lot of different things up there. It's light, very different than the desert.
Cactuses water in them, and then
Right.
I saw there's a bird thing, and I went on the computer, and they were in a desert, but it was raining outside, and so they had this thing that they built, and they went inside of it, and there was a whole bunch of sand there, it was like a desert, and so I was like, I picked up dirty water and cactuses, and then she zipped down the zipper to a cactus, and there was a water thing that you push, and then there.
Yeah. It does rain in the desert.
In the Syrian winter, yeah.
Yeah.
It has actually, in our own lifetimes, snowed in the Negev once. It happens like about once every 100 years apparently. And a few years ago it snowed in the desert, and there are incredible pictures. Like these same landscapes covered with like 2 inches of snow. It's unbelievable. So there aren't cactuses, but did you see that little bush a few pages back? That's actually, I can't remember the Hebrew name for it, but everybody calls it a salt bush.
Oh,
And it has these really salty little
Saba?
small leaves. can't remember what it's
Sabra?
called. No, it's not a sabra. That actually is a cactus.
Yeah.
You know, Israel's so small that to go from someplace that's green to someplace that's desert, it's like going from here to Escanaba, you know?
In a car, yeah.
It's not very far at all,
Wow,
yeah.
that's weird.
It is weird. Israel's part of the same ecosystem as Eastern Africa. It's part of the Saharan Rift Valley.
Oh, the Rift Valley.
So, you asked what kind of plants are in the desert? You've seen The Lion King, right, Kayla? Everybody seen The Lion King? You know in the plains there's all that grass and then there's like that one little tree that has like no branches on the trunk and then it has a bunch of branches on the top and it's very wide leaves. Those trees are in Israel too, because it's part of the same ecosystem.
What part?
All the parks, whenever they're running around the grassy areas. You need to watch The Lion King more if you don't know.
I watched it yesterday.
You didn't know there was going to be a test.
Yeah,
No, I didn't actually.
These pictures are of the Dead Sea or the Salt Sea, and you can see the salt, all this white stuff built up on the branches of this tiny tree, that's all salt.
Ew.
And there's so much salt in the Dead Sea that if you go in it, which isn't much fun, but it is fun in one respect because you float.
Very
Because the water's heavier than your body.
Wow. So you could walk on the water?
No,
No,
you
but
could stand.
you can stand upright and your feet don't touch the bottom of the floor though.
Oh,
Like you can stand just like this and the water comes up to here and your feet aren't touching anything and you're just sort of standing in the water.
whoa. I
But
didn't try that.
But if you're on your back, you just float on top.
Yeah. You can sit in the water like it's a lazy boy. It's really interesting.
Yeah,
Can you go in your belly?
and this is a waterfall at Ein Gedi, which is right next to the Dead Sea. We stayed there and we camped, and Jacob and David had insulated sleeping pads, and Abby and I had air mattresses. And Abby and I did not sleep well because the ground is so hot that the air in our air mattresses got just as hot as the ground. And so we were sleeping on this 100+ degree air mattress. It was pretty miserable. They were okay.
Yeah, we,
And these are people coating themselves with mud from the Dead Sea.
Let me see.
Yeah, those are people, not statues.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
you can see the mouth.
No, I can see it.
That's what you do. When you go there, you coat yourself with mud and then you let it, and then you stand out in the sun until it becomes completely dry, and then you go into the Dead Sea and wash it off. And apparently it's very good for your skin.
What is good for your skin? It's like that's what lotion is made of. So
But after you go in the Dead Sea, then you take a freshwater shower because you're covered with salt then.
Yeah, and the shower is hot water.
But they don't have to heat it up. It's hot just because.
There is no cold water.
Yeah, if you're used to Lake Superior,
It's the opposite.
yeah, it's nothing like that. Okay. So,
the only way that I
just
can
see so
See
many.
these
the only
big,
way that I can know is
turn it back on the
if
page.
is if I'm in a sauna.
See all that farmland there on the green side?
Uh-huh.
That's from a part of the country that used to be a swamp. And the pioneers, this is back in the 20s and 30s and 40s, the pioneers who first moved to Israel to turn it into a real country for the Jewish people, they got to the middle of the country and they wanted to build farms, but there wasn't any farmland. There was just a lot of swamp. and they actually drained the swamps over several years. They drained the swamps, cultivated the land, and turned it into farms.
How did they change?
I'm honestly not sure exactly how the process works,
But
but
it was
they,
earlier than you said. It was between 1880 and 1926.
oh, I was like, really?
Yeah.
Okay. But it's mostly you redirect the water elsewhere.
You dig ditches.
Yeah. And now the Dead Sea's evaporated, so we won't get into that.
No. That's the Mediterranean.
Mhm.
That's the Mediterranean. The almond blossoms.
Yep. This is in a fisherman at Lake Kinneret.
Yeah.
It looks more like somebody coming out of, like water coming out of the lake that's going to,
That's his net.
Yeah.
I thought it was a big spider web at first, but it
Yeah.
isn't it?
I think that net is made of something clear like fishing line.
Oh, I've got a fun
coffee and
thing to tell you, Kayla, that I know you know. All right, you see this sea right there? That's the Kinneret. That's this body of water. Okay? Do you know what the word Kinneret is? The name of a musical instrument in Hebrew. In modern Hebrew, sometimes people use it incorrectly to refer to a violin in modern Hebrew. But in the Bible, it means a harp.
Oh.
And the reason that they named this sea the Kinneret is because it's the same shape as a harp. Can you imagine the spine here and then the curved piece of wood there and then all the strings running across it? That's the shape that harps were in ancient Israel, and so they named that sea the Harp Sea.
what's that?
I was just wondering something.
Well, that's a picture that was taken over time so that it, when you see the water flowing,
It must have been going really fast.
yeah, it was probably frothing and bubbly and it shows you that the water's moving so quickly. It's a tributary.
What's like that?
This is a pelican.
There are a lot of birds in Israel because it's a transit from Europe to Africa.
Yeah,
A
actually,
lot of birds go through there.
I didn't realize how big of a deal it was, but people come from all over the world to visit Israel just to watch birds. They don't care about the old ancient Bible stuff. They don't care about the Roman stuff. There's a lot of Roman stuff in Israel, but they come because you get birds from Southern Africa, or you get birds from Western Africa, and you get birds from Europe, and you get birds over here from Asia. And they all fly through Israel. And so at certain times during the year, you can get birds from 3 different continents, all in the same area. And it's one of the only places that that happens. Yeah. Where?
Canaan?
Oh, Canaan.
That's the same as
Canaan is
Israel.
the same place as Israel. It was what it was called a long time ago. You remember that wall was like 2,000 years old?
They had to go all the way from here, all the way here by walking?
Not that far south. See, ancient Egypt.
Yeah.
I need something smaller to point with. Ah, I have some keys. Here we go.
Here.
Ah, see, they only went up. Where's the map? Over here. They didn't go that far south. Ancient Egypt stopped about here.
Yeah.
This south of Egypt was called Nubia. It's a whole other country.
And
3,000 years ago.
if you look at this scale of miles here, the llength of my thumb right there, that's 50 miles. So we're talking 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 250 miles from the Nile River to Jerusalem.
Yeah, but
Okay, that's,
I can only go 6 miles on my bike.
Well, but it took them 40 years.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
But if we go from here to Sault Ste. Marie, that's 180 some miles, okay? So,
I'm
Yeah.
glad that we couldn't drive there and that you waited
Yeah.
over maybe 3 hours.
Just to show you how close everything is, it only takes an hour to get from Jerusalem to the coast by car. Just an hour, going 50 miles an hour. So everything is very, very close. They, in Israel, they think a long drive is like anything more than 30 minutes. They're worse than people from Great Britain who, they think a long drive is like an hour. But in Israel, a long drive is like 30 minutes. Oh my God.
For us, a long drive is 8 hours.
Right, exactly. But you would, if you started here, if you started right here and you drove south for 8 hours, you would be here in 6 hours. Or actually, no, you would be here in about 8 hours. It's about 9 hours to get from here to here.
There,
Yep.
all the way down to the south.
has anyone ever seen a tree that looks like this?
Is that a baobab tree?
It's an olive tree. And olives are, I assume they're still a dominant crop in Israel.
Oh yeah. There's kibbutzim that only do olives.
Yeah.
People have been growing olives for a long time in Israel.
Yeah.
Somewhere in here we have pictures of the site of an ancient olive press where they put the olives in and they pressed them until all the oil came out. And that's where we get the olive oil, it's by pressing the olives. Back here, these are papyrus plants. And
What do they do?
Well, the Egyptians made paper out of them.
but when you read about baby Moses being put in a basket in the river by his mother, you know, papyrus plants grow along the
Liver?
river. Mhm.
And so she picked up and rolled them together?
Yep.
What am I looking for? The press.
The olive press.
She must have had to weed fast though.
Here you go. This is Mount Hermon, Israel's highest mountain in the winter. And there's a ski resort on it. So at the same time you're skiing at Mount Hermon, people are down in Eilat snorkeling in the Gulf of Aqaba, which is maybe a 3-hour drive.
Yeah. Oh, no.
Where's my mom?
No, in a lot, that's more like
That's
a 9-hour drive.
That's a whole.
Is it?
Yeah, that's the entire length of
We
it.
never drove it completely. We stopped.
But you have people swimming in the Kinneret, and that's
Here's
like
an
2
olive
hours
press.
away.
Here's an olive press. It's an old olive press, so it's hard to see. But there's the stone that they used, and that's all that's really remaining here. They put the olives under that stone, but there was a superstructure that went away over the years, because this is very old. And they squeezed out the oil, and then there's probably a place where the oil came out, and they collected it.
And just so you get an idea of how big of a deal this was, archaeologists, this is actually something that I learned in my class last semester that was one of the most impressive things. At this one site, archaeologists were able to figure out how many barrels of olive oil, not gallons of olive oil, but barrels of olive oil that they were making per year. And at this one sort of remote place where all they do is grow olives and make olive oil, they were making hundreds of thousands of barrels a year. And so they estimated that this one place in sort of mid-Israel was supplying olive oil to not just all of the Middle East, but like way far west, possibly all the way into India and way along the spice route and into Africa and just all over the place, because it was way too much olive oil for just the Middle East. And this was at this one place, kind of like now how you have these giant factories that make stuff and they ship them all over the world. people did that in ancient times. It took things longer to get there, but olive oil lasts a really long time, so you can make lots of it and then just send it out.
Yeah.
Turkeys in Israel?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
This is an aqueduct. This is a ruin left from the time when the Romans occupied the land of Israel.
They needed water.
And this, on the top of this was like a fake river that brought water from some place where there was good fresh
In
water
the north. Yeah.
to another area where they didn't have water. Water's
It's Royal Pyramid.
a
Royal Pyramid.
royal pyramid? I don't
I think she's looking at the triangular arches.
Okay. Stop me if you see something you want to hear about.
Oh, what's that?
Okay,
I don't know what this thing.
a water tunnel at Megiddo.
That doesn't look like water. That looks more like a lava.
That's just because they have fancy lights in it now. But it used to be totally dark. You'd have to walk down there with torches.
The city, 6,000 years ago, it was an important city.
And the Egyptians.
It served Egyptian pharaohs. It's in Canaan.
Megiddo was really important because it was at a crossroads. It was at a major intersection for the entire Mideast. It connected Egypt and Babylonia
Yeah.
together. And you
When,
had to go through Megiddo.
when Egypt controlled Canaan, their capital in Canaan was Megiddo.
But like we were saying before with aqueduct, you know,
Oh, this is
water,
Megiddo, right
water in Israel,
Yeah.
water isn't
is
all
Megiddo.
over the place like it
And you
is
see
in
how
Europe.
around the land around that is flat, lower. Part of the reason that this is taller is because when people build cities, they look for a hill that you could build it on, and then you could see everywhere around you. And because there were these two huge roads, see, this is where the gate was. So one road went straight up here, and another road came in from this direction, straight towards the city. But the other reason why it's taller is because there's like like 6 levels of this. This is called an excavation. And that's the term that archaeologists use.
Oh, yeah.
It does it, but look, see that bus? That's a full-size bus. And then, like, imagine that bus up here would look pretty small, right? This was huge for ancient standards for how big a city was. And there's many layers of the city. See, look at that. These are all different layers, and they're like hundreds of years apart.
It's
Each
like
layer.
if somebody's house was getting old and they wanted a new house, and they just
Built on top of it.
Yeah.
destroyed their house, but they didn't haul the junk away, and they just built on top of the junk. That's the way the ancient cities were.
But understand that the houses then were made of rock.
Right.
Yeah.
And when the Egyptians were there 3,300 years ago, they came to Megiddo. It had already been settled. They took over the place.
I remember something. Remember, I don't know.
You can take a bat mitzvah trip? Where are you gonna go? Uh-huh. Well, you know, some of the ruins you see in Israel will be similar to some ruins you'll see in Italy because of the Romans were in Italy and they were in Israel too, so.
I just forget that school, I love the birds, because I was looking at them. What's that? It looks like
What's
some
this?
sort of like jail.
Okay, waters of the stream just outside Jerusalem went through a tunnel that was dug by King Hezekiah. And
The story of that tunnel being dug is actually in the Bible. Do you know what a siege is? So when people are at war and this big army comes to attack your city, you want to save all the people, so you have the city with a wall around it, and you bring all the people inside the wall, and then you seal off the wall. And then, yeah, let's see, have you seen Lord of the Rings? You remember in the second movie, the part called Helm's Deep, where they all go into this big fortress, and all the goblins come and attack the fortress and try to get in? Okay. Well, that's, if you remember that, that's what a siege is. A siege is when everyone is inside a sealed city, kind of like if this cup was the wall, everybody's inside, and you got this army camp outside that wants to get in. But what they really do is they just wait, because if you don't let anyone out, then they're going to run out of food. But the biggest danger is running out of water. So Hezekiah dug a tunnel from inside of the wall underground to a spring that was about, what, like a mile?
Yeah.
It was about a mile outside of the city wall. And he dug this tunnel. Dug it. He had people dig this tunnel all the way down from the city of David, which is what Jerusalem was called, and dug underneath the ground all the way through this tunnel. And not only that, he did it secretly. So the army sitting outside had no idea. And before they went inside, see, this army has to drink too. But you don't want them to drink from your water source. So they hid the outside entrance to the water source. They were very sneaky, very clever. They had to go really far away to get their water to bring it back, even though there was a water spring right here next to it. But Hezekiah hid the entrance before everyone went inside the city and then dug a new secret tunnel. And that was, I mean, he saved the city from being taken.
who wants to read?
Yeah, because they waited.
He was a really good king. He was very clever.
They waited and waited and waited and waited and it didn't.
So we're on the
Yeah.
first page. Do you want to see the first page and we'll read in the story?
Heather,
You see? Right here? Page okay. That's okay. But you can go there. Look. Jews live in China and Mexico. Russia and America. There are Jews living in England. Which one over here? Australia or even.
We'll do that later.
You'll find them in every country. English and Arabic,
What a
French,
coincidence.
German, Russian, Japanese, Czech, Spanish.
Well, I didn't have my copy this morning.
Literature around Jews call many different lands in the
This
world.
is
Jews are home in many different languages. All Jews also share one thing, and all Jews can call Israel. All can call Hebrew their language.
Douglas, are you planning on going home before our meeting this afternoon?
No.
Okay.
okay. What country do you live
So you already have all your stuff here?
in?
I'm going to call Noah's going on and see if I can meet with them in the afternoon and meet with you here at 12:30 since we're both
From America.
here.
Yeah.
And it will save me like an hour of driving.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe we'll see that.
Yeah. Well, which one?
So, we're in Michigan, and this is the United States of America.
Shannon?
So places that you heard about, like Florida and California, those are all
I'm not
part
listening.
of the United States. What language do you speak? I think we have to agree with that. Yeah. English. English.
Draw lines to match the words.
Yes. Ellen, your mom speaks another language. What's that?
You just flipped it to close.
opening my eyes and stare at Abraham and Isaac. I took the staying right here. Sacrifice?
Okay, so, Israel.
No.
Sacrifice?
Yes, that's the way it's.
Israel,
What is that?
the,
I named that
Hebrew
thing first.
pronunciation of Israel, and this is how it's written.
Name.
Oh, name? Adam?
You see it on the That's okay. Israel.
Israel.
It's a Hebrew word for Israel.
It happened.
It was a
just
second
in
name
the
that
nick
God
of
gave
time.
to Jacob.
Miracle.
That's
It means, so the word Yisrael means a
A
people.
symbol that
Wrestle
God
with
did
God.
not send another flood.
The Jewish people are B'nai Israel,
Angels.
and they translate that as the families of Israel, but doesn't it literally mean
something in the
children?
sky
Yeah.
about something.
But that's also, yeah.
The land of Israel is called Eretz
The
Israel.
larger shape is there's one child.
The word Israel begins with the letter Yod.
Blessing.
And so that little red, you see that little tiny red thing, that is the letter Yod.
What we must do for our brothers and sisters.
Do you see it?
Do I die little angels?
And the Yod also means finger.
God is here.
That silver pointer that Jim uses when he's reading from the Torah is called a yod.
I spelled flower. All the destroyers.
We need another Peter.
Pyramid with the stairway. Scissors.
No, Jim, we're reading.
I don't know. Oh, I know what this one is. Birthday.
Okay.
Well,
Okay, skip that one, go to the most treasured.
That other one.
The most treasured book of the Jewish people.
Eretz Israel has a birthday. It is called Yom
okay.
Our teachers.
It is a celebration of the day that Israel again became a country. Yom HaAtzmaut is the Israeli 4th of July.
Yeah.
Israel has a big party on Yom HaAtzmaut. Jews all over the world have parties too. They eat Israeli food,
Garden
dance
where Adam and Eve
dances, sing Israeli songs, and wave the Israeli flag.
Yeah, you see a lot of flags here.
See the flag tonight, Johnny?
No.
Do you see the flag tonight? Do you see any of those in this room?
Yes.
What color is there's one? What colors is that one? And what else?
Just
Mm-hmm.
like
Oh, I like
the same cloud of cake like
Cool.
Israelites learn to love
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that symbol, that star, the 6 points,
Here, here.
called the Magen, and that Magen means star, and David means baby. Some people call it
that one.
a star.
The day of
Yeah, God's love.
That's what God's love for us.
So that's the official flag of the country of Israel.
Sodom, God,
It's a name for God.
Does anybody know Israeli food?
What do we call them, sir? But you haven't used yet. What would be another name for God?
You just ate a bunch of it.
the
Going back to it. The day that God created.
What did it look like, Shannon?
It was square,
The day of rest that God created.
flat. Oh,
Mhm.
and we ate it at the Seder. And Ella took it to school.
Well,
And she said, I don't really want to eat any more of that. I'll just eat the cheese instead.
Cigarette?
The other Israeli food tastes a lot better.
Right.
Yes,
Okay.
the other is
so now, we need to start guessing it.
Sacrifice.
No.
But it doesn't get you as good of expression
Okay,
to it.
remind us of the story.
I mean, I love learning that stuff. Lots of the schools are passively pulling out.
That is the biggest record I've ever seen in my life. Oh my gosh, what did that?
And Isaac. Sacrifice.
Usually with a few more less than Sunday school.
Here's a tower to the
Do we know any
Okay, so they built this tower.
Yeah, I do.
Can we do a dance over there in that open space?
Let's just go.
How do we have any music?
I have my computer. We can pull up some of the really
I
music.
decided to start with
No,
video
no.
I'll leave
What is it that you want to figure out?
Okay,
Can you put it back together?
yeah, read that, tower to the sky.
The tower.
Put it back.
Put the next activity.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not
This is the
I
story of the
said I
tower.
wanted to go.
Yeah, but I am going,
in
I'm going in order of the story.
order of this.
Yeah, but I found this first. This is the story of God, you know, where they were trying to build a
Israel
tower to
begins
God,
with
and
the letter
God
Yud.
didn't
There
want
it
them
is,
to
right there,
build a
Yud.
tower to him, and so then they all couldn't understand each other anymore. So, which one was that?
It's like sign language, Julian.
I know sign language.
So which ones here are the letter Yud?
The second part of
Look at all these. Is one of these actually?
Which one was it?
You know,
Our marker?
Yeah, but which one of these?
Actually,
You don't
I wonder if that's the sign language or just making it.
That's what drawing can know, because they're all drawings. Which one?
So which of these, which ones here are the letter Yud? This letter. Where do you see that?
Okay, so here's Abraham.
What did Abraham try to do to Isaac?
This is not correct.
Oh, that's
I
fine.
don't think that's it though.
I
Yeah,
see
that's
one.
it.
No, it's not, because
see one
sacrifice is a different one down here.
Look at that.
I thought it was that one too, but I don't know.
One. How many else? Okay, we see the YouTube, three.
I didn't reach now, so I'll have to stick to the same time today.
How many more?
But,
How many total?
um,
How many
I'm not gonna be able to make the next visit because I'm taking that early flight. But for both of the visits in May, I'll be able to meet on Sunday.
Yeah.
And hopefully, I will be able to rearrange the schedule to where we can meet at like 12:30.
Yeah.
Like 12:30 to 1:15 or so, and then I can meet
High five,
with
girls.
Noah at like
Yeah,
1:45.
did Jillian a high five?
And
No.
I don't know why I didn't do that from the beginning because all what I'm doing now is I'm driving up here from Marquette.
Yeah.
Then I'm driving back from Marquette to meet or to meet with Noah. Then I'm driving back up here. And then I'm driving halfway to Marquette to get to the airport. So it's just not that smart. It would save me 30 minutes of driving.
Yeah.
So
But
we'll
he
see.
saves,
But for now,
he saves his brother.
let's just, unless I'm gonna try him again in like an hour, just in case. But if I can't reach him, then I'll just stick with the plan for today. Okay.
On a trip. Just
Yeah. Yeah, don't look back.
So,
You can only pick
here's Sodom.
three.
So which
The
one
most
is?
important.
Oh.
So what was Sodom?
That does seem really strange.
Yeah, then.
Somebody in your place to that. Our Sodom.
Look closely.
Can't really visit it.
Yeah, really.
Let's see. Well, I know.
This is for the
That's why we're
projector.
doing this, because these stories you did so long ago. Okay, here's Abraham's gift to God. He took his son Isaac up to sacrifice, and then God stopped him, right?
Yeah, so you don't get sun in your eyes or on your head.
No.
Computer's about to
That's
run
not,
out of battery.
that's not it. Because I realized later on that sacrifice is down here. Okay, read what God wants.
What else would you take on that? On your cruise
so far.
A book,
Mhm.
an address book, yes, we can.
That doesn't
write a
make
book
sense.
for
But
it.
I'm sure if we
Yeah, prayer book.
We
I
always
don't know
read
how
that
sensitive
story
that mic
on
is because
Oh,
Yeah.
when we were doing some recording that all you
know.
do is
See, I thought it was
rub your hand on the
sacrifice too.
table and it would make a terrible
Yeah.
racket.
I think it's a very nice one because
Yeah.
in the service, you could hear
We don't do sacrifice.
everyone singing,
Yeah.
you could hear everyone reading, and you
Yeah.
could still hear everything that was happening on the Bema,
Yeah.
but you didn't hear Russell, 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 page turn, page turn, page turn.
Oh,
Because
right.
for some reason, mics love that noise.
Yeah.
They love it. A lot of the, especially like some of the outdoor concerts I did in college and high school, when they would record them,
yeah, who likes that noise?
mics.
Oh, microphone.
So it's this great, great music, and then everyone turns a page, and it's 5 times louder than the music.
But that's a different wavelength, they could filter that.
Yeah.
Our teachers and teachers.
There are places in Jerusalem, like we looked at the Wailing Wall, Hotel,
We got
and mosques and
Keeper,
She
Creator,
got it right.
Covenant.
there are
Those are the 3 goes left.
all skyscrapers.
Okay, so then you have a name for God,
And there are
God's
places
laws
where you
for
can
us,
swim in the
and
ocean and snorkel and see all kinds of fish.
what we must be for our brothers and sisters. You have those 3, and you have Covenant, Creative, and Keeper. So out of those 3, which one do you think is a name for God?
Last two, okay?
Creator?
I know.
What's that, Grandma?
I think dancing will be the thing.
I think so.
Keeper?
Yeah,
So
there you
what kind of place would you want to go first?
I'm gonna keep something.
Is
Yeah, it's one of them.
what place would you want to go first?
go. Would you look out for your brothers and sisters?
You wouldn't, women?
Like if anybody will meet you, your friend Lizzie, what you do? Try to beat him up.
That's what I thought it meant for my little sister.
Yeah, Baruch is a keeper of beast thief.
Not very good at it, but
Oh, he's
still.
good at it. I took him for a walk one time
Creator.
on
There you
a
go.
logging trail. The
All
guy
right,
came in
Jacob
a
has something
four-wheeler,
for you, okay?
and they had 2 dogs, and one of them, a friendly dog, wanted to smell beast thief.
I know.
That's right.
One dog that's the smell beast.
All right, Jacob.
Okay,
Take over.
Wow, she's
we'll take over about how they
Just
go.
finish that book.
I wish we had the fire. I had more
No, but we're not gonna worry about right now.
Or do the same
They're
thing.
getting off from there.
We'll do that later.
Okay.
It's already been like an hour.
Come on, Mom, I haven't eaten in like an hour.
And then there's book 2, which is,
Betsy, are you guys still working?
Yeah, but you guys can go ahead.
You know what the Hebrew word aliyah means? Aliyah means to go up. Yeah, and so when you talk about going to Israel, you're going up to Israel. So the 5 aliyot are the 5 immigration, 5 going to Israel.
We don't.
Yeah, we can read this.
We already have a promise, but Israel is still very important, but we don't. Only visit.
Can you read it to me?